Is there a specific case that made you realize that you wanted to practice personal injury law?
There really was a turning point for me. It was something that I had done, and with some degree of passion, but until last year, never to this level. We had a case come in where mom and dad came in, and their son had died. It was a premises liability case. And they came in and they told the story about what happened. It was just a terrible story, and my daughter was 3 years old at the time, and I could just relate to it on every level. The parents were just completely broken and devastated, and it was a very preventable death. And by the same token, it wasn't something that they were interested in reliving for years upon end. And so, again, this was kind of a case that broke the formula. What could we do to bring about a positive result, but not drag it out so that this family had to relive it? I mean, they needed to be able to heal and move on as well. So it's a delicate balance. And so, again, very aggressively from the start, although I knew in my heart of hearts I was never going to try that case to a jury, I didn't want the insurance company on the other side to know that. So we prepared that case from the very first minute that mom and dad walked out like it was going to a jury trial. And not in the typical sense where we were drafting discovery that you would send out on every case, but we created this very powerful PowerPoint presentation. And we hired the right experts to give us their opinions on the issues involving the case. And we went to mediation several months after they had come in, but I think in less than 6 months we went to mediation and we had the case. We could have tried the case that day. And we went in, and that night, the night before mediation, though, I was still worried about making the connection with opposing counsel and his client. I mean, how do I paint the picture of this horrible thing that happened? I mean, to them it's in the abstract. There's a dead kid, but they don't know anything about my client. And so what we did is we added sort of another chapter to the PowerPoint presentation with video of this little boy singing bedtime songs to his parents, to listening to them interact, to watching him at his birthday parties. And that really connected with opposing counsel, because then there was a face with the name. And the issue with this case that made it such a problem for them was that there was a fence involved that wasn't up to code. And how do you really illustrate that for them too? I mean, you can read the law and the statutes and the numbers, and you can see that they were off. And so literally the night before, we decided that I was going to go to Home Depot, and I am not a carpenter by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm not real sure how I pulled it off, but we constructed a segment of the fence that showed how it should have been constructed versus how it was as to where the latches were. And we brought it to mediation, and they never saw it until during our presentation. And we brought it out and we said, look, here's the problem. This 12 inches could have saved this little boy's life, and you had noticed that it should have been fixed and you didn't fix it. And after we played the video and we showed them that fence, I'd never been in a mediation like that before, because everyone in the room had moist eyes, including the opposing counsel and his client. And that case settled that day, less than 6 months after the incident happened. And money can't buy happiness, and that family would obviously rather have their little boy back, but they can move on now and put the pieces together and maybe do something with that money that will further the memory and the legacy of their little boy.